And we are back for another Friday night show. Welcome to Breaking the Silence. Tonight, we're very honored to have Jan, it's Jan Gray, and better known as Mr. Gray of Experiencer Interviews. That's Experiencer with a big X. And I've been watching his show off and on for a while. And he asked the other day to have me on his show, which I did, and we had a really good time. And I'm really glad to have him here. He's a great guy, and he has a lot of experiences and a deep interest, as we all do, in this subject. He is definitely an experiencer, and he's told me some amazing things he'll share with you tonight. I'm not going to babble on too long because we only have an hour. Well, we got a little over an hour. At 5:15, what is it? It's Talk Dream Radio. I think it's Talk Dream Radio. I'm on. It's a coast to coast radio program tonight, and they have to check in with me at 5:15, and then I actually go on at 6. And this is a radio program, and it's also I think it's streamed live on YouTube. So, and I did put up links to that in the community section for those of you who'd like to go listen to that tonight. So, the name of the host is Gary Anderson. Yeah, not the Gary Anderson of the Great Britain that made really cool models for UFO, ironically. So, and Mary put up a link. The Breaking Silence is Mary, and she's in there doing all that. So, and of course, tomorrow night we have another show, which I think you'll really enjoy. It's very fascinating that Mary M had similar things to say, and that Whitley had said on the show last Friday, almost identical, and yet they haven't met or talked before that I know of. And we recorded her before Whitley came on, so and he hasn't seen it. So there's a lot of synchronicity going on between us and our experiences. And I had a pretty amazing experience this morning. I woke up, and then I went back to sleep, and I had some really, really bizarre dreams. I don't know if they're related or coming through my subconscious, but when I woke up, I had my eyes closed, and I saw this, and I'm going to do a drawing or painting of it, this network of crossed like bodies with sort of insect type praying mantis heads, and they were like a screen. I mean, as they backed away, and then behind that were grays looking at me, and they were moving, and their eyes were glistening, and I had to open my eyes up and look around the bedroom, and then I closed them again, and it was right back again. I said, no, I'm awake. I'm not imagining this. So that was pretty amazing. So let's bring on Mr. Gray. Hi, Jan.
Hey, brother. How are you?
Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So you're going to share with us tonight your story, your experience.
Yeah, basically my life story from the get-go, from early on. I might have had this sort of pre-birth type of.
Sorry.
I think I might have this sort of pre-birth memory that came on as a dream, which maybe like a few years ago, and I'll get into that really, and we'll use that as a sort of a backdrop for the rest. Now, during one of my shows, I had Pat Jackson on not too long ago, and when I shared with her an experience that I'll get into the experience. So I'm in orbit, so I'm looking down towards the Earth, and I'm with other people, and we're all super happy because we're knowing that we're going to Earth. And now I turn around and I see my current mother, who passed away not too long ago, and I'm seeing my dad, my current dad, but I look at him and he's appearing as my father, but I know that it's not him for some reason, like a screen image. And now when I'm looking down towards the planet, I'm seeing Earth, but in between. So imagine if you're in your backyard and you've got these bed sheets drying on the clothesline, and in between two flaps of bed sheets, I'm seeing the Earth. That's how I saw it. And we're all happy. We know we're going down to Earth. when I shared her that story, she said that's probably a holding area that I was in before incarnating on the planet, because we do have like a mission. And but I had that dream a few years ago, but I couldn't make heads or tails of it. I didn't know what it meant. But if you view it in that perspective, it does make sense. So I was raised in a small town in Temagami, Ontario, Canada, which is about 4 hours north of Toronto. So that it's basically in the bush, huge trees. So really, and I found out recently that it's a Bigfoot area too, which I found pretty cool. Now my mother's into crystals, or was into crystals, angels and stuff like that. And she had told me that my grandmother also had loads of dreams about flying. And there's a lot of ghost stories also within my family. So so at the age of around 2.5 or 3, I'm the first of 2. So my brother was born 4 years later. So at the age of 2.5, 3, I remember telling my mother at night that there were people in my bedroom. Now, I don't remember seeing their faces, but this happened for at least a couple of years. And I was so traumatized, so fearful, knowing that they were there looking at me, that I would sleep with my entire belly, my entire body against the wall like a plank. And I did not move because I knew they were behind me. My mother would say that it's like a fear of the dark. You're afraid for nothing. But I was afraid of the things under the bed, the window, and the closet. And sometimes I'd sleep in a fetal position too. But again, against the wall, because I felt secure. I felt safe. Sometimes my mom would wake up at night with me watching her beside the bed. Now that freaked her out because at a young age, I'm not sure at what age because I slept in a crib. So I'm not sure at what age they took me off the crib and gave me a normal bed. But that freaked her out. And sometimes I told this story to a MUFON researcher once, and he told me that sometimes when kids are being brought back from wherever they're being taken, sometimes the children go see their parents sleep because it brings them comfort. So, but I put that off for my entire lifetime as a childhood fear of the dark, and I didn't connect anything to ETs because I remember I'm a child of the 70s. I grew up on Scooby-Doo, Gilligan's Island, 3 channels on a black and white TV with bunny ears, and especially in the woods up north like that. Other than seeing ghosts, to me, ETs wasn't a thing really. So, my father used to work as a boat captain for a logging company, and eventually that went broke, and my parents moved to Quebec. So nothing of like importance really happened during that time up until the age of 11. Now when my brother was born at the age of 4, that's when the night visits stopped. But there's one thing of consequence before we moved to Quebec that happened. Now I remembered all my life my first nightmare, but that was probably, knowing what I know now, it's probably a screen image. So you wake up, you think you're in a dream, right? You wake up from being in bed. Now I'm in bed, I open my eyes, and what I see in front of me at the foot of the bed is a 3-foot tall boxing glove doing this. And so I scream out to my folks. So my mom and dad arrive. But the thing is, it's the energy within that environment. I felt like not drugged up, like groggy, but it felt weird. Like the energy was palpable. And I thought, oh my God, what's happening? This is weird. And I never felt that my entire life. And only recently I had somebody on, and she explained the exact energy that she was in, and she called it UFO fog. And so my dad picks me up and he points to, and I point to the glove. He said, look at it, but they didn't see it. But who knows? Who knows? Whatever picked. It could have been my folks that picked me up. Could have been something else. But that was probably a screen image of a gray or something that small that was at the foot of the bed.
Like
So
my butcher block.
yeah. So we moved to Quebec, and I had a normal childhood upbringing. Now, but I still slept against the wall because it eventually became out of habit, but I always felt more secure. But at the time of that, I stopped a bit of sleeping against the wall. There was an event that I remember I'm on my back, and I'm conscious, but my eyes are closed, and I realized that my feet are in the air at a 45-degree angle. I cry out no in my head, and then I feel my legs fall back to the bed with a thump. Boom. That's what I black out. So during my entire childhood, up until of the age of 25, nothing really happened. Nothing psychic, no ET stuff whatsoever, no ghost stuff. And so I finished college with my second degree, mining degree, and I move out for the first time. So I'm on my own at this mining research center, and so this would be around 2005. So this is when all the psychic stuff starts to kick in. Now I'm about to fall asleep, and I'm looking at the I think it's theta wave. You're just about to fall asleep, and so I'm looking at the bedroom closet, and the air in front of me starts to bubble up. So imagine looking at heat rising from hot pavement. So it's sort of wavy, but it wasn't a bubble, and it looked like when you're trying to boil oil and water together, or like a lava lamp a bit, looked like that. But in that energy bubble, just in like maybe like a foot or two in front of me, I'm seeing my brother's head. His eyes were closed, his head was tilted to the side, and it felt like he was drowning because of the energy. Now that really freaked me out. I call up my mom the next day and I tell her the story. And that's it. So about a week later, my mom calls back and tells me that my brother's at the hospital getting massive blood transfusions because the medication he was taking for his IBS was killing him. His blood platelets were severely low and he was dying. So for an entire week, he got blood transfusions nonstop. And the guy was lucky he didn't get AIDS or anything. But so that was like a warning signal, like a third eye vision, psychic vision of whatever, telling me that my brother's something's going to happen to him. So during that year, nothing else happened, and my contract finished, and I eventually moved back to my hometown. And now, in that, I was renting an apartment on the second level and of a house. In that, so this was this is about 2007, 2008 now, and I wake up one summer morning. The window was open. There was hardly air coming in the bedroom, so it was very hot. So everything was open for the circulation, for the air movement. And so I'm looking around. I'm on my back which normally I sleep on my stomach, but this time I'm on my back for some reason, and I'm realizing that there's a face. Now I did send you the image of that, but
okay.
I'm looking at the face of it looks like an upside down guitar pick. And but the thing is, it was semi-transparent. I realized it was like something black hovering just above the bed, maybe at 6 feet from the ground. And so I start tracing it all around, and I realized at the end it was a face. And I start concentrating in it because it was semi-transparent. That's why at first I didn't really freak out, because it was sort of like cloaked a bit. And I realized there's two big round eyes at the top of the head. And at the bottom would be like a skinny jaw. So like big, large at the top and skinny at the bottom. At that time, I didn't know anything about gray, so I put it off as a ghost. And to me, well, I wasn't really scared of anything. It wasn't doing anything to me. And for some reason, I was super calm. And I get the idea to turn around and hug my girlfriend at the time, and I fall asleep. Maybe a month or two after that event, I'm sleeping, and in that same bedroom, so I'm sleeping on my left side. The ear that's pointing to the ceiling, maybe an inch away from my ear, I hear a woman's voice say, you're going to be an uncle and your parents' grandparents. I wake up in a jolt, thinking somebody's in the bedroom. So my light switch is just above me, so I turn it on. Nobody's in the bedroom. Turn around. My girlfriend at the time was still sleeping. So I thought, oh my God, that's strange. So fall back asleep. I call my mother and I tell her the story the next day. And for 3 months, I completely forget about it. Now, one day, 3 months later, after the voice, my brother calls up and tells me, asks me, do you feel old today? And I thought, well, that's a weird question. And I said, no, why? Well, you're going to be an uncle. And I thought, yay, we're super happy. We talked for like half an hour. And then I decided to call my mother up. Of course, he told her the news first, right? And then she tells me, do you remember that voice that told you about the baby coming? And that's when my jaw dropped. Is, oh my God, that actually happened. So, now what else? Okay.
I'm trying to get that picture up. For some reason, StreamYard's having a problem with it, so I turned it into a JPEG while you were talking, and I'm hoping it'll upload that. It just says an error occurred, wait a moment, and then try again. I've never run into this before, because I have it right here. I'm looking at it, and there's no reason why this would not open, and I want to share this.
Now, regarding that female voice that told me about the baby that was coming. Now, all my life, I always thought that I was forgetting someone. Now, this is really... Oh, there you go.
Yes. Sorry it took so long.
Well, you see, that's what I said. Large head at the top, skinny jaw at the bottom, huge round eyes. And that's exactly what I saw. And this is my current girlfriend. She has a lot of third eye visions upon waking up, and she would draw. She has a bachelor's degree in arts, and she draws very well. And she's the one that this is what she saw one morning in 2016 upon waking. That the degree that she saw. So I thought that really looked what I saw, because I didn't know mine was see-through. I couldn't see any like specific features on the face. I only saw like the bottom part of the jaw, the eyes, and the head. But when you look at that, it really looks like that. So I thought it was pretty.
Yeah, it's very similar. It's the jaw shape that really stands out, and the lower cranium. So, wow.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing. Now,
yeah, hopefully it won't do that again.
Now, coming back to the female. So all my life, I thought I was forgetting somebody. I remember when I was a teen, I walked to and fro in the living room, and I tell myself, who am I forgetting? Who am I forgetting? It was really traumatic. To put a bit of energy on that, since I was a child of the 70s, and those that in 1978, Walt Disney made a movie called Child of Glass. Now, I'm just going to read the plot here. Its plot follows a young boy who moves into a former plantation in Louisiana and encounters the ghost of a young girl who was murdered on the property. Now, the movie itself, it's good, but the thing that's traumatized me, and for some reason I could never forget that girl, was she was wearing these 1800s robes, like pajama robes, very fluffy. And I might have sent you an image, but
oh yes,
okay,
yeah, jar my brain, because
you could show it later on.
I've got it right here,
and
hopefully it won't give me trouble.
Now,
there you go. Bingo.
Okay, there you go. So that's the Child of Glass. So I'll get into Olivia's story later on. But that Child of Glass really traumatized me all my life, and for some reason I didn't know why. Now, I just want your listeners to keep that in mind. So, on to the next page. So, all right, in that same apartment, I hear while I was sleeping, I hear a voice say in my head the word serendipity. Now, even though I went to English schools all my life, except for college, I had no idea what the word serendipity meant at the time. So I had to Google didn't exist during that time, if I'm correct, but I had to Yahoo it. So I had to, yeah. So I Yahooed the word serendipity because I didn't know what it meant. So why would I invent something I didn't know what it meant? So the word serendipity means the occurrence and developments of events by chance in a happy way, or accidentally being in the right place at the right time, like bumping into a good friend in some unusual location. So keep that in mind. So uh, during that and the time I was still in that apartment, I felt I was getting ill. I had a premonition something was wrong. So my mom said, "Why don't you go and visit a medium?" So I took an appointment with the medium that was really good, according to my mom. And the medium was always looking at me, well, beside me, like she was, like something was beside me. And
Uh-oh, here it comes.
eventually, she starts crying a bit. Her eyes were really watery because the to and fro that we're talking. And she says, "Well, you're gonna meet up with someone," and you, because I was single at the time. Because the girl that I was with in the apartment, we broke up, and she says, "You're going to meet up with somebody in a year and a half, 2 years max. She's going to be blonde." And then she starts doing this with her hand. And I had no idea what it meant. And she says, "Oh, okay, her hair is going to be here." I said, "Okay." And then she makes me pull cards. And the way that every card that I pulled, the girl was amazed. And says, "Yan, look at this." And she explained every card. Every card in the deck shows that you're going to be up with somebody. And she shows the cards that weren't pulled up. Says any of the cards that you'd have pulled up would have screwed the entire story. So like it's as if my soul was picking the cards. And so the thing lasted for about an hour, and I went back home, and I was satisfied. I thought, okay, I'm gonna meet up somebody. But so during that year and a half, each time I dated a girl, um, they weren't blonde. And so I was a bit confused. And the word serendipity, I always tried to associate serendipity with something special, and nothing special happened until a year and a half later, roughly, from that moment on with the medium. I go to Walmart's, of all places, at noon during my lunch break, and I meet up with an old friend of mine that I haven't seen in like 15 years. And so we talk, and he says, I'm waiting for somebody, a friend of mine. So we wait. And then I see this sort of beautiful blonde-haired woman coming, shoulder-length hair, coming towards us. And so I'm looking like to and fro from this lady, waiting, because I never thought that lady was, the person that was coming towards us was his friend. And so I'm still looking like to and fro. And then she stops in front of us and she starts talking. That's when I realized that she's British. Beautiful, like noble type of voice that you'd hear in movies, like Harry Potter, something really, really beautiful. And so I realized it's her. And then we start talking, and we start getting on. And so eventually I have to go back because my lunch break was finished, and I bought whatever was needed at the time. So a few days later, she emails me a story because my friend had my email somehow, and she tells me that I was starseed, and I thought, what the beep is that? I had no idea what like starseeds or ETs were, and I thought, is she in a sect? Is this woman crazy? And then she starts telling me stuff, and then my entire life started to make sense. I started connecting the dots. So she goes on this trip, like to India and a few places for about a year, and then she comes back, and and this lady, what she shares with me, it turns out that she was a gray child abductee. When she was young, she'd ask her. She was raised by her grandparents because her mom was a hippie, wasn't really a good mother, but her grandparents were. Her mom used to date Ozzy Osbourne, and also her great grandfather was a knight. So she was sort of raised in a sort of like young small castle really that eventually got divided into apartments, but they had money. And so yeah, her great grandfather was a knight and a brigadier in the military, the British military, and so it was high ranking, and also he was he was best friends with Eisenhower and Patton during those years, during the war. And yeah, so they would go to his house for dinner and stuff like that. Now, because of that, during the time that we were together, because the lady that I'm talking about, eventually we did start dating. We were supposed to get married, but I'm jumping ahead now. But my phone was tapped for the entire time. When I would eventually, she went back a few months to the UK, and so when I'd call her, these sort of 1980s beeps would start beeping, like the phone was being
called
transferred.
MF tones. MF tone. They're called MF. We used to cheat the phone company with these little black boxes, and they made that sound. And when you would push the old phones, you'd hear that do 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 do. That was
That's it. Wow.
Yeah, that's code.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to tell me more about this later on, but so another experiencer that I met that maybe the year prior, when I called her, the same thing would happen, only to two people. Now, so yeah, she went back. She did like a trip to India and a few places. She comes back a year later, and we the first night we do a C5. I never did a C5 before. That's when I realized that things moved in orbit. I didn't know that, so I thought, oh my God, satellites moved. So white lights moving in orbit, yay! The next day we do another C5. And we do these chants. We try the C5, the Dr. Greer protocol. And so 45 was we were on the lawn. This time we were standing, and we're just looking around and chanting. And within 45 minutes of starting the C5, a Norb ship, orange red, or I call it orange lollipop red, comes in at in a diagonal fashion. At an angle that we're going to see it come in. Just above the power lines, maybe 30, 40 feet. I could have thrown a rock at it. It was so close. So I estimate at least 10 feet wide. Watermelon, like a rounded watermelon or like elongated egg. Not perfectly orb, but not elongated. And so it just glided. No sound whatsoever. It didn't seem to emit energy like the contours of the ship were perfectly, you could see them very well. So it didn't like radiate energy, but it was orange red, and it just crossed the sky. A whole bunch of people were outside that night. The neighbors, the neighbors' kids, people walking around. Nobody saw it except us. So I believe that they can manipulate those that aren't meant to see it. And so the whole thing lasted about a minute. And I thought, oh my God, each time we do C5, we see stuff, which is totally like, no. But, well, maybe 50-50 for me. But so like a week later, I go to my parents' house. They had a house by a lake. And my fiance, let's say, she had to go somewhere else. But so I'm on my own. I'm doing this, the C5, starry sky. And I walk around the house because, of course, we're by a lake in the woods, and the mosquitoes were catching up to me. So I had to walk all the time during the entire C5 because I didn't want to get bitten. And about an hour in, nothing's happening. And so I go back inside and do maybe like a 5-minute break, talk with my folks. And as soon as I step outside and I look up, I get the feeling to look up as soon as I put my foot on the pavement. The timing was perfect. The same UFO flies in overhead just above the trees. And I get the feeling to go inside and get your folks. So I run back inside and I tell my mom and dad, hey, come on, there's this UFO. My mom, being more into this, comes out quickly and she sees it a lot more up close than my father did. My father took his time, but he saw it too. And from that moment on, my dad started having contact. A few months later, he had the flu. So this would be like 2000, like almost December 2013, maybe November. He had a bad cold, so he slept downstairs in the guest bedroom, and he wakes up. And again, the timing was perfect. He wakes up during the night, opens his eyes, and through the basement window flies in a 4-inch golden orb, which had sort of wonky energy moving inside of it, and glides from one side of the bedroom to the other. He tries to catch it. It either goes through his hand or above it, and then it flies back through the window. My dad also started seeing. He would being felt up. He was being touched up during the night, and body taps. He'd wake up from those body taps with a shadow person beside him. And lately, when my mom passed away, he moved to another city where I'm in right now, and he called up and he says, "Yan, you never guess what I saw last night." He said, "I woke up and there was a weird-looking clown in my bedroom." And I told Dad that was probably a gray, because they have trouble really getting their clown down to an art. Really, there's always something off. I'm not sure if this is done by purpose to make us question what we're seeing, but yeah, that was probably a gray. So I thought, well, kudos for you. You're lucky. And so coming back to after the C5, well, we did during that day where we did the C5, the first C5, I know the second where we called in the UFO, we did a crystal cleansing, and that's where we started falling in love. She was there the year prior, and that river where we did the cleansing, she inserted a crystal in the riverbed, and she thought for some reason, she had to come back next year and get it. But the thing is, when we went together to do the cleansing, she put down her hand through into the river and brought out the crystal. And the whole thing was because we were supposed to go back to that place, and that's where everything like really hit. Well, that's where we fell in love. So that was the reason why we had to go back to that place, and that's what that's what she realized.
You're amazed it was still there.
Yeah. And so let me see now. So in that house, when I broke up with my girlfriend that I had, the gray with the apartment, I eventually bought a house. Well, C5 is the human initiated ET contact.
That's right.
So they're telepathic. So what I do is to call them. Well, you could speak out to the universe, but telepathically, I try to project my thoughts into space to try to help them locate where I am. So I would reach out, and so I would project where I am, let's say in the Milky Way. Then I'd zoom back to where I am, and I'd show with my mind the solar system, and then I would show them where the planet Earth is and where I'm located on the Earth, and then I would do things like backwards. So I'd zoom back up to where the Earth is, and the solar system, where I am, the Milky Way, and so on. So, and I do chants too. Now, so in my new house with my new fiance, when I bought the house, the first thing I did was call out to my ancestors, and I told them, to those who passed, those that want to come and visit, you're allowed, but as long as you protect the house. So from that moment on, I started getting body taps at night, like double body taps. Happened every few months. It would wake me up, sometimes even twice during the night. My trash bin would open and close at night. And why I say it's the trash bin is because eventually I got tired of hearing at 12:30 at night. I'd hear this poof in my bed, in my kitchen, which is right beside my was close to where my bedroom was. And so one morning I got I think this was during the weekend. I get up and I start opening all the drawers, the cupboards, and everything. And eventually I got to the point where I opened the top part of the plastic trash bin. And I close it. That's when I realized, oh, okay, somebody's opening and closing the trash bin. So yeah, this whole the whole like poltergeist thing is something that happens a lot to experiencers too. So that was like one piece of the puzzle that I had to that helped me make. I don't know. So yeah, even my fiance at the time also experienced the trash bin opening and closing, and she said, "What was that?" I told her, "Oh, don't worry, it's just a trash bin." I thought it was funny. Now, a few months later,
they are curious beings, aren't they?
yeah. Now I'm not sure if there's like ghosts or anything, but yeah, something was naughty, and that happened for years up until 2015, and it stopped, and it's only recently this year it started back again, which I'll get into. Now, in that same house, so I'm with my fiance, the energy was crazy. Sometimes during the night we wake up and it was painful, like our entire cells were shaking, and we had to walk it off, and before going back to sleep. And one time I wake up. This was in December of 2013, and because of the cold, I tend to wake up a bit and have to go to the bathroom. And so the bedroom, I sent you an image for that too. With the bedroom.
Yes, you did. Hang on, let me switch back over to here. I had to keep my eye on the comments because Mary's distracted by grandchildren, and we had a bad person in there, which I immediately removed.
Good.
He said something very nasty, and we don't normally get that, but he's gone. He is banned. He is no longer a problem. So I'm going to, here we are. And so it's the picture of the bedroom, which is right here. And
so my bedroom, my bed was right beside the bedroom doorway, and I wake up and I'm facing the doorway, and maybe a foot or two away from me, I realize that there's like a 5.5-inch black hole. I think it was sort of matte gray because it was nighttime, and it was about 3.5 inches wide, and it didn't have any depth, like width to it. So the whole thing happened very fast, but my brain registered it as something that was floating. Nothing was holding it in place. It didn't have any depth to it, width, and it was sort of matte grayish black. So then my brain realized, oh, I got to flip the switch on. So, and above me was the light switch. I flip it on. It disappears. My fiance wakes up in a jolt, in a panic. What's happening? What's happening? Then I tell her the story. And she says, no, I'm not waking up because of you. A man was telling her in her mind, telepathically, nonstop, while she was sleeping, the word EMP, electromagnetic pulse, nonstop, as if those two events were like linked together. Something was happening. So we were panicking. And because the military was after her, and bad people were watching her. Also, the phone tapping and all that. So we were panicking. So we eventually fall back asleep. And again, I'm always sleeping on my left side towards the the bedroom door. And I get the feeling. I wake up during the night and I get the feeling I'm sensing movement coming in through the bedroom door where the portal was, the black hole. And I black out. And this time I wake up and I'm facing her, and I'm super drugged up, and I'm able to look around. It's a bit like the UFO fog, but really drugged up this time, like coming out of anesthesia. And I'm looking at the foot of the bed. I'm seeing, and on her side of the bed, these 6-foot tall shadow beings. So imagine looking at football players. You only see the shadow, but they're standing up. So very broad shouldered. And I'm only seeing, like, she's the one that drew it. She didn't get it. She wasn't, she's not the one that saw it, but I didn't see any arms. I only saw the outlines of the body coming down to the floor. And why I'm saying they're 6 feet tall is that the bedroom closet was around my height, which I'm 6 feet tall. So we're the same. So I'm seeing through them. They're blacker, they're darker than the night, but they're transparent. And there's yellow on the door. Well, it's sort of moonlight and lamplight coming in from outside, because the my curtains were closed in the bedroom, but those in the living room, which was right outside, those were opened up. So I'm still able to see a bit in the dark, and I'm seeing these shadow figures moving around, And with some effort, I'm able to raise my hand to say hi. And that's when I black out. And I wake up. So there's sort of missing time. I wake up and I realize I'm looking downwards towards my feet, and they're barefoot. And I'm also wearing hospital robes. And as soon as I realize that, I black out again and I wake up the next morning. I went on Misha Johnston's show a few years back, and she told me that's probably my lab. I'm not sure that ETs use like drugs to drug you up, but they got better tech than that. But it could have been my lab. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, all right. Okay, so thanks to
just my feeling on the black spot is that's how they come in and out.
Yeah.
I think it's an opening, and what's really kind of interesting about it is Felix the cat, because if you remember, he had a black spot. He could throw it on the wall and go through it. And is that something that is just kind of in our DNA memory or something? It's intuitive, and that artists call on something like that because they've experienced before, or maybe because it's just in us somehow, that we should be able to put a spot anywhere we want and go through it into another dimension.
Portal tech, yeah.
Yeah, portable tech.
I had somebody on that saw the exact same thing, but it was a human-sized black hole, and people would just move into it, walk into it.
It makes sense to me.
I could have seen it when in its early phase, and it could have been small and got bigger. Who knows? The time was there, but yeah. So thanks to my fiance coming from England, I found out, because a lot of Americans they've got these experiences because they've got sort of like military ties, let's say. But here in Canada, the military is not that big, and the whole ET stuff is not that well known, and so I didn't understand why I was having these events. So thanks to her. I told her this story that my grandmother and my mom would tell me, that her mother, my grandmother, would tell her that her bloodline, her family, was an important one back in the day. And that's all she knew. We didn't have internet back in the 70s and 80s, and especially she never had internet. She never experienced it. And so that's all she knew. But she came from like southern Quebec, Canada. But her surname is Aylwin. And when I told my fiance that, he says, "Oh, the Aylwins are nobles back in England." And so that's why my grandmother said that her family was an important one, but she didn't know what. She always put it down as like an Irish family because of all the Irish immigrants here. But no, she descended from British nobility. The thing is, something happened in the UK and Britain, and they emigrated to the US. But when they got to the US and the whole independence wars happened, when you fought against the crown, they didn't want to fight the crown. So they moved up north through the East Coast and came into Canada. So that's what happened. So I've got American family somewhere, or at least I'm related to. I had no idea. But yeah, so the thing is, so when she told me that and I started researching the whole bloodline, the Aylwin bloodline, I realized that the Aylwins were a branch out of one very old bloodline. Now, remember back in the day, the people weren't well educated. They couldn't read or write. So they'd write down how things sounded. So over the years, of course, the centuries, names would change on how they were written down. So the word Aylwin, Aylwin, was also Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh.
So all of that, they're all associated. And they all come down from one ancient bloodline that can be traced back to the Roman era, And the word is Elfwine, Aelfwine. If you use the Anglo-Saxon, so this is before Old English, before the Saxons. And in Anglo-Saxon, the word Elfwine, elf means friend, noble, or magic, and the word wine means friend. So my ancestors were called friends, magic friends, or noble friends, or elf friends. But a few years ago, I was watching a documentary on the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, the Elohim, and they got to the word elf. They didn't say wine, but the word elf, AELF, meant the shining ones. So you could associate that to friends of the gods, basically.
Yeah.
So my mind was blown, like
I can just hear
wow.
Jacques Vallée now.
Why
Dr.
is that?
Jacques Vallée.
Yeah.
Well, he makes references to the fact that, we thought of the beings or visitors, the non-humans, as elves back in those days, because we didn't have thoughts about space travel, space technology. So that was the closest thing we could liken it to, was elves or leprechauns, which were elves, and so on. Oh, thank you very much. That means somebody just donated some money to our cause.
Awesome.
Thank you. And how do I pronounce it? It's QI. You can see it on the screen. I hate not pronouncing names properly. It's a problem I have when I see them written out for some reason. But thank you so much for the super sticker. So Jan, continue. Please.
Now, a lot of stuff happened to me in 2013, December. My fiance had to go somewhere, and this was during the time I meditated a lot, because remember back in 2012, this story happened in 2012. Sorry, I didn't want to, because I met my fiance in 2012, and we started dating in 2013, which was back. So when I was meditating, and I thought it was the end of the world, right? So I tried to meditate as much and try to put my energy into the earth. And one time I go to bed, and as soon as I close my eyes, what I'm seeing when my eyes were closed, imagine a projection on your left eyelid. And I sent you an image of this, like day 1 and day 2.
Yep. It's right here.
Yeah. So as soon as I close my eyes,
is it the star-shaped object?
No, it's there's a typewriter. The 2 boxes. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's it.
Right. So the first night, something happened. So I go to bed and I close my eyes, and what I'm seeing on my left eyelid, because I was opening my eyes, right? And as soon as I closed my left eyelid, but my right eye was open, the projection was there, and not when the other way around. So what I'm realizing is there was a black box, and in the black box was like a black and white TV, let's say. And in the box was the side view, an old typewriter with the old cylinders, and somebody was typing. And the feeling I got seeing that was somebody wanted me to blog all my experiences, because my fiance was on a website, and she would help a lot of people, and she would share her stories there. And so I had that. So the next day I go on the same site, and I still got the PDFs of what I written. And I started blogging everything down. And so that's that. So during that same day, I in the evening, I start meditating again, and I go to bed, not expecting anything, because that was the first for me. I go to bed as soon as I close my eyes, and instead of a black and white box or TV, I'm seeing a black and white box, whatever, but I'm seeing 2 hands inside shaking on it. And the feeling I got from that was somebody was congratulating me of a job well done.
Huh.
I was supposed to do that. And
so you're wide awake, and you're getting this image, like what I described, what I had this morning. I mean, I had to open my eyes up and close them again. Am I really awake and seeing this? Yep, there's a bunch of grays looking at me through a web of bodies. Okay. Yeah. What do I make of that,
So, I thought it was pretty cool. And I guess that was sort of what kickstarted everything, because they wanted me to write down my stories. And eventually I reached out to people, made a whole bunch of friends. I went on through the Starborn support in the U.S. In Maine. I took part in in 2015. I took part in a videotaping of a Japanese show in Maine. A Japanese film crew came to the U.S. in Maine, in Portland, and they filmed us, a whole bunch of experiencers. And there was an Italian reptilian contactee that was also part of the show. Denise Stoner was there too. We had loads of fun, and thanks to that, Audrey Hewins from Starborn Support asked me to be part of a. She wanted me to be a guest speaker at her conference. So in 2016, I took part in my first ever UFO conference. I was the first speaker, so I was the one that opened it up. Richard Dolan was my master of ceremony. Travis Walton was there. We camped out with everyone. We had loads of fun. Now I got a bit ahead of myself, but so that would happen in December of 2013. So yeah, she was, my fiance was there for Christmas. Her visa expired. She had to go back to UK, and eventually my mom falls ill. She catches a super virus at the hospital, and within 2 days she died. Oh. During that event, we were at the Montreal hospital, and my mom appeared to my fiance. Well, she was on the loo, on the toilet, and my mom told her, "Could you please take care of my boy? He has no one else." So she eventually she was able to come back early, thanks to a note I gave her, so that she gave to immigration, whatever, to customs, and she was able to come back and help me for another 6 months with my dad, because he had it rough. And the night,
imagine,
night that she was back at my dad's place, so I'm sleeping in the guest bedroom where the orb came to my dad. She wakes up in a jolt at night, and she says, "Yeah, go get me a piece of a pen and paper, quick." So I give her what she wanted, and she starts writing down the entire page. The thing is, my mom was speaking to her telepathically.
So it's sort of an automatic writing.
Well, yeah, because she remembered everything what she said, and so she gives me the paper. 3/4 of the entire page was her, an English-speaking person, trying to write in French. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
She didn't know how to write French, but I could make out words. Within that, the last part, it's written. She says, when I was speaking to your mom, I told her, "Speak to me in English. I don't understand a word of French." So the last part, last 2 sentences, was my mom saying, "Look in the drawer by the window." So the morning after, we showed the note to my dad, and we start going around looking, opening up drawers here. So the drawer by the patio window, on top where the TV was my mom's dream diary. The second to last entry, when you read it, you realize it was a sort of prophetic dream of her dying, but she didn't know that.
Wow.
And in that dream, now during that year, my dad and his family, they were sort of like they weren't talking anymore. So my mom was saying that, yeah, my dad really had it rough with his family, and because of she died, because of my grandmother that died maybe a year prior, and things went downhill within the family because of that. And so my grandmother and other souls were at my parents' house, the one by the lake, and she eventually so other souls want to come in and to talk with my mom, but my grandmother's pushing them out, and eventually my mom finds out that she's going to get operated on in the chest area, but not to be stressed about it. Of course, my mom becomes stressed with that. She gets stressed and she comes out of the dream. She falls back asleep and she falls back into the dream again. Then she questions my grandmother and says, don't worry, everything's going to be right. Everything's going to be okay. But it wasn't okay. It was okay because she's going to leave her body. She won't be in pain, whatever. But to us, it was really rough. They injected her with so many antivirals, it could have killed a horse, and nothing worked. So
but you were directed to go and find that.
Sorry?
You were directed to go and find that information. Yep. Your journal. That's amazing.
Yep. And my dad lost the note, so I couldn't try to figure out what was written in French. which really pissed me off. But again, he was he wasn't really in a good state. I would wake up during the night. My dad realizing that at 4 a.m. he was like the guy would fall asleep in front of the computer with a bottle of beer between his legs, drunk. So for an entire year, I had to look up, like check up on him, and to make sure that he's okay. And it was really rough for me too. But yeah, so back in 2014, the company I worked for went broke, and eventually I had to sell the house. So my fiance had to go back to the UK. And in 2000, and so about in March of 2015, that's when she calls up. She writes me an email, and she breaks up because of immigration. I lost my house, so I couldn't. I needed like reasons why I was able to keep my fiance in Canada. And the company went broke. I was broke. I had to sell the house, so things weren't really going well for me. So she breaks up, and for an entire month, I would write to her like every day, and she'd never respond. And eventually, like we talked about yesterday during my after our interview, that we're like being protected. I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to die. She changed my life. She was prophesized, and I loved her a lot. So I cry out to the universe, like, why? And I write to her an email, like one last email, like, thanks for everything. So I write to her at around 5 p.m. UK time, or 6 p.m., let's say. So imagine and this is Eastern time. So in the UK, it's like 5 hours later. So this was like past midnight. So my fiance responds after a month of not emailing back. She says, what's wrong? And I tell her the story. And then she says, and I still got this email. During that emailing event, she says that she got woken up by a voice all across the pond in the UK at the time that around the time that I screamed out to the universe. And she says the voice said, wake up now. So she wakes up in a jolt, goes online, checks her emails. She sees my email, and she thought that I was going to kill myself. So she responds back, are you okay? And that's why I told her the story. And she says, phew. She says, yeah, the voice was female and not non-human. So I'm going to go and make myself a cup of tea. And she says, like, send out protection, something to that extent. So because of that, we sort of like patched things up. I didn't kill myself. And
but you were miserable. I mean, just everything had gone wrong.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. My
that's
mom
really
passed
hard.
away. My dad, also not too long after, he almost had a heart attack. I had to sell the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I got rheumatoid arthritis, so I had to deal with that too. Plus, my dad, things, rough. Eventually, I had open heart surgery too. Like, things went downhill for a bit.
Thanks for staying here.
Yeah. Now, also another story that I want to get into while I was in the house. Now, remember I said that I get a lot of body taps at night. Now, one event. This time I was sleeping alone, and I'm feeling I'm being felt up. Now I'm on my back. My eyes are closed, but I'm conscious. I'm feeling touched, starting from my toes, slightly up to my hip area. Every now and then I'd feel like a slight touch. And then when it got to my hip area, I went into full vision mode. Now, remember the child of glass, all in white?
Oh, yeah.
All my life, like even in that house, sometimes I realized I'd be out of body, sleeping on the floor. And I'd hear a female voice say, what are you doing on the floor? And I feel this sort of love enveloping me, and it's hugging me, and it brings me back into my bed, in my body. Now, this event, I'm being felt up. When it gets to my hip area, full vision mode. And what I'm seeing was that child of glass and Olivia Newton-John. Not the Olivia, but what Olivia would look like her. She was wearing these huge, fluffy 1800s robes, pajamas. I don't know. She didn't have any like. She was. I didn't see her throat. She was just. It was all like fluffy. bushy blonde hair down to her shoulders. She had a round face. So it could have been like my fiance, but I'm not sure if I knew her at the time. I don't know. It's been so long. And but so the female angel says to me, "Do you want to come with me?" And the first thing I thought was, "Well, no, I can't come with you. My mom's going to be sad if I do." But the thing is, during that entire event, in those few moments, she was showering me with love. When I call it love radiation. Every cell in my
Like that.
body
Mhm.
felt love. So imagine being in heaven. To me, that would have been like something that I could have like associated to. It felt like I was in heaven. I felt love from that angel, and I felt paralyzed because of it. And and so I said, "No, I can't come with you." And then said, so instead of showering me love, she's showering me with sadness. And I thought, oh no, oh no. So I'm paralyzed, and I thought, oh no, what did I do? I'm so sorry. And then she says out of the blue, and this is weird. We can't invent this stuff up. She says, "Are you good with motors?" And I thought, okay, maybe she's an alien and she wants me to help her with her UFO motor. And I showed her my arthritic hand and I said, "I'm sorry, I can't help you with this hand." And then she showers me again with sadness, and then she sort of disappears in a backwards motion. Plus, also, I didn't see her bottom part. I only saw belly up. And a lot of people that tell me that these higher beings, they only see the bottom part, like belly up, and that's it. You don't see their legs.
Oh,
Um, so I wake up the next morning thinking it's a dream. So this was in December of 2013. Canada, very cold, like minus 40, minus 36, whatever Celsius. And I had to go get groceries. So I had this sort of a long distance starter that I could start my truck from inside the house. Truck doesn't want to start. So, okay, the battery's dead. I forgot to plug it in to recharge the battery. So I go outside and I recharge it for like 3 hours, come back in, try it again, doesn't want to start. So I call my dad. My dad says, "Well, go underneath the truck and tap the starter. Normally that helps. See if it's the starter that's the problem." So I go underneath the truck. Um, there's this snow everywhere. I got like 2 feet just to wiggle under, and for like 20 minutes, I tap the starter. I go back inside the truck and try to start it manually. It takes me like half an hour, and boom, the truck starts up again. It's like, yes, okay, so it's the starter that's faulty. I go back inside the house, and that's where it kicks in. She wasn't asking if I was good with UFO motors. She was asking me if I was good with truck motors,
oh.
because the both events were so close together. She just wanted me to have confirmation that she actually came, because the question was so odd and out of place. It had to make sense that that she was pointing to that event. So yeah, so the an angel, for God knows where, or I don't know, it could have been a screen image, I don't know, but yeah, I thought it was really fascinating. How much time do we have, Steve?
Well, I was just private texting you. I have the radio station is going to be calling me in 15 minutes to do a sound check, a video check, and all that stuff. So we're kind of out of time.
All right. So
Yeah. Well, normally the show is only an hour as it
okay.
is. So
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I've got other stuff. Yeah, I spoke at another conference. I spoke at UFO Con 2021 with Lauren Fenton. I like I said, I broke up with my fiance there's a sort of a down period where I didn't have any contact, and it seems to rank to bump up again. And with my new girlfriend, the night prior to meeting up with her,
mhm.
I drove down 5 hours to meet with her. We were meeting up the next morning for breakfast, and we had this sort of a nice really day planned out. I'm at the hotel, maybe like a few miles from where she lived. And I get so I'm on my during the night. I realize I'm on my stomach. I don't know where I'm at. I suspect I'm still at the hotel, but I don't feel the bed underneath me. But I feel two light hands on either side of my body, and they start moving me on the bed. I'm conscious, and I thought to myself, "Oh, I'm being abducted." I suspected Grace, so I send out love telepathically. And then I hear outside of my head, not telepathically, but outside, I hear these high-pitched banshee shrills, banshee shrieks, like, ah, like he's awake, he's awake. I thought, whoa, okay, that's weird. So I send Lev out again. I wasn't afraid. I was super calm. And again, I hear these shrieks. So I'm still being moved on the bed. I suspect now I'm in between the bed and the wall of the bedroom, the hotel bedroom, and I feel I'm being pushed towards the bed, the head of the bed or the wall, whatever. And I'm going through it, and then as soon as I feel I'm going upwards, and I black out. And I wake up during the night, and I write this story on Facebook, but I don't talk about the shrieks. So I fall back asleep. The next morning, my soon-to-be girlfriend, I tell her this story, and then I asked her, did anything of consequence happen to you last night? And she says, yeah. And she says, I'm dreaming. I'm in my bedroom. She's like I said, she's an experiencer. She gets these third eye visions upon waking up. Lots of grays, reptilians. She's moving around in the bedroom with rods and pads in her bedroom. So anyhow, she says, yeah, I was dreaming that something was putting pillows all around my body, and they were hugging me really tight, and they were moving me on the bed like that. And eventually they put a pillow on my face, and it was really uncomfortable. It was a bit painful. And then telepathically she says, stop it, you're hurting me. And she hears during that event 3 high-pitched banshee shrieks. During that event.
She experienced the same thing.
The same thing during the same wee hours, the same night. So again, that's where the Eve Lorrigan love bite comes into play. So did they? She writes about how ET sometimes put experiencers together, to fall in love. So I'm wondering if
I think that's true.
So I wonder if that was what they were checking up on us, if we were like compatible. That's what I think. And
you're getting a lot of thank yous right now.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, everyone,
for being here tonight. And everybody's wants me to have you back so you can go into more of this. Yeah. Because we've run out of time. But everyone here is just, if you're watching the chat, you've got a lot of people that love you here and really appreciate you being here. And a lot of.
Well, I hope they could they follow me as well on my channel. I do interviews of like 2 or 3 a month.
You've got some great guests.
Yeah. I love them. All of my guests are like family to me. I love them all. And yeah, we're still friends, and we text each other every now and then. So it's been a blast. I've been doing this for 4 years now. So, and I doubt I'll be ending it anytime soon. So, yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Well, it's been
and
fun.
Let's talk again soon and have you back.
Yeah.
I got these people calling me in a few minutes, so I got to go. I'm
all right.
Sorry. But so much appreciate you being here, Jan. Really do. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So everyone, we'll see you. We'll see you Saturday for the pre-premiere for our next show, which is our 23rd show. So again, Jan, thanks so much for being here.